This is an emergency broadcast of the Uncovering Anomalies podcast. This is not a drill. Remove any children and pets from your home and go to your nearest shelter. Remember to at all times listen to the Uncovering Anomalies podcast. And whatever you do, do not under any circumstances trust what you see.
We didn't get the countdown.
No, it was no countdown.
That's okay. All right, ladies and gentlemen, welcome to episode
13.
Is it 13?
Yeah, it's 13.
I was going to say I should stop reading out the episodes because I never know which one the right number is. Welcome to the Uncovering Anomalies podcast. As always, I am joined by my trusty co-host, Adam.
Hello, everyone. How you doing, Topher?
I am the Star Child Topher. And welcome, audience, and thank you so much for joining us. Thank you so much for listening.
Yes, it's been we talked about this before when earlier this week that there wasn't too much going on, except there was 3 big interviews that happened last week for the UFO. I mean, one of them is Greer, which I'm a big fan of Greer, but he has a movie coming out, which is why he did this interview. But the interview is awesome. I sent it your way.
Yep.
Also, Russell Brand had Jeremy Corbell on. I'm not sure if you watched all of that.
I did not watch all of it.
He said some crazy things in there. I mean, not substantiated, of course. A lot of people are saying, that's why people don't like this subject, because people like him just say these things and there's like no evidence. And then Eric Weinstein on Rogan. I sent you that one also.
Yes.
He's not a physicist. I thought he was, but he's a scientist. He says he's not a physicist, although that's all he talked about on the interview. So those are the biggest 3 things there were other things that went on, like of course Ukraine and what Biden's doing and other things like that. So we can start. How was your week?
It was good. Nothing out of the ordinary. I kept my eyes on the sky, but unfortunately it's been extremely cloudy and rainy, so I didn't see anything good. That
was crazy, huh? When it started on Friday. I mean, it stopped. Pretty much it stopped last night, but I mean, we had a lot of rain yesterday.
A lot of rain. Government's controlling the weather. Yeah, but it for sure it's snowing in places that typically don't get snow. It snowed out in
LA.
In LA, it snowed out in Vegas. I don't know how. I didn't hear about so much snow in LA, and I know the stuff in Vegas didn't stick, but up in my old neck of the woods of Montana, it was negative 11 degrees at one point earlier this week.
Whoa, that's so nuts! And on the East Coast, it was like 80 degrees, so it's flipped.
Yeah,
which is cool to see because it just shows you how it's an electric circuit.
Yeah,
All right. So where do you want to start? I mean, that cockroach thing. I don't know if you want to start with that with the milk.
Oh,
scientists.
That's a quick blurb. I just wanted to start out by saying it was a pretty slow week in terms of UFO stuff. I think, this is all we talked about the last few weeks were the balloons that were supposed Chinese passive monitoring systems, and all of that is completely gone. No more F-22s blowing stuff up out of the sky, and I kind of think it's because people with heads on their shoulders pointed out it's most likely a scam, most likely distraction from everything else that's going on.
Yeah, and people made fun of it, and a lot of people were saying it's a distraction. Even remember Tom Green?
Yeah.
So even he came out and said that. I haven't seen him in a long time.
Tom Green came out and said that. Edward Snowden came out and said that. A lot of big profile names came out and talked about how BS the entire thing was.
Right. And I think even a lot of believers, right? The ones who, like you said, who have a good head on their shoulder, like, wait a minute, listen, I believe this, but they're not. If they really traverse the galaxy or whatever, for thousands of years ahead of us, even if they're on their planet, I mean, our missiles are not going to do anything to them, and we know from the past they haven't done anything to them.
They've shut down, they've deactivated nukes, they've done all sorts of crazy stuff. We've spoken about it. It's just nice to touch, kind of put a nice bow on it. Hard to believe that these people or these beings hypothetically would show up, float around, and get shot down that easily.
It's too easy.
It is. Sorry, I was gonna say it is interesting that assuming these are terrestrial, we are going back to very simple technology, assuming they are just balloons with like cameras on them.
That's so funny. Did you see that U2? Took a picture of the balloon from on top.
Yes.
Wow, those things go high, huh? It's like 80,000 feet they go or something. That is nuts. I saw the curvature.
Yeah, commercial airliners fly at 40,000?
30? Yeah, 30, 35.
Yeah. So, I mean, twice as high as that. And anyone who's flown by plane can tell you 30,000 is really freaking high up.
Exactly.
So imagine double that height. Double that height. It's not surprising to me that you can see the curvature of the Earth.
Those guys are seriously brave. I can never be like that. My heart rate is just high when I'm just sitting. So I think these guys have a really low heartbeat. I think they're like 40 or 30, so they need these experiences to have a normal heartbeat.
Yeah.
Well, I enjoyed Greer's interview this week. I always like his interviews. He's the OG. He's the one who started Disclosure a long time ago, and this is a really good interview. He goes through the history. About the Wilson papers, right? Admiral Wilson. So he talks about that. He talks about that he presented in his office, and it was kind of depressing because after he went through everything, Admiral Wilson, when he went through like trying to get the information and they wouldn't give it to him, I guess Greer came back and gave him another presentation, and the guy goes, if these people, he goes, I can launch the B-52 or something like that, or whatever, or B-2, the B-2 bomber, which is the most advanced one, right? He goes, I can launch that. He goes, we're up against people who can do circles around that. He goes, we don't have a chance. So I thought that was pretty depressing. That he knew about it. He knows that there's these secret projects and that they're rogue, and that they're so advanced that he can't do anything about it. Not even saying they're aliens; these are humans.
Yeah, it's definitely a terrifying thought.
What are you going to do with these people? You can't. I think here he goes through with it.
Have no protection over from the National Security Act. They cannot be kept secret.
So here he's trying to give ammunition to people in government, right? He's saying that these programs that are rogue and really deep black, he's saying they're illegal and unconstitutional, even against the National Security Act, which I didn't know that either. I thought that they are actually protected from the National Security Act, and that's the reason why they passed it, right? Is to do these things.
But this is right before you get back into playing that.
Yeah,
this is what quote unquote conspiracy theorists have been warning about for decades. This secret shadow government.
Yeah,
these are the people that play by their own rules, make their own rules, and they probably don't even have rules now that I think about it. They're given an infinite amount of money in a black budget that again, quote unquote, disappears. When reports are coming out saying X amount of money is unaccounted for, X amount of money that was being looked into by the Pentagon was blown up in 9/11. This is what all that money is going towards.
Yeah, and I have another theory is that I think 9/11 happened because the Disclosure Project was getting really big, and he did that press release, or not press release, the press briefing at the National Press Club. It was in 2000. I think it was in August. It was a month before September 11th, and he got, I don't know if you saw that one, but he had so many contractors and military personnel come out and just and state that they state their story, and then they said that they are ready to go in front of Congress for any hearings, and it was a big deal.
It's not surprising at all. It just begs the question, why, and this is something I know we'll get into, why do we need to keep, why does the government need to keep everyone's head in the sand? Keep people not knowing what's truly going on. And Corbell briefly talks about that in that interview you kind of mentioned earlier that we'll talk about. But let's get into this.
I don't want to watch this entire thing, but this is the Wilson.
Yeah,
they're going to operate outside the oversight of the constitutional oversight requirements of the president and the Congress.
What were some of the things that were in the top secret documents?
Well, I have one that's from Nellis, so-called Area 51 area, where there was a security alert by some civilian groups trying to see what was going on there. And it has the distribution list.
Okay, so this is important. Why this is how he got Wilson to go find these projects. So this top secret paper he's talking about has a distribution list, meaning that there's these projects and departments that are secret, no one knows about. right? So he said, go find these things and you'll find the programs.
The document isn't that important except for, because it was a security alert, but the distribution list is important because it has the project code names and code numbers. That document, which was dated 1990, in the 90s, is one of the documents I gave, for example, to the president's people, and also eventually when I briefed the J2, the head of intelligence, Joint Chiefs of Staff, Admiral Wilson, and that was on the top of the pile because I said, look at the distribution list here, follow that thread. And so, for example, in the case of Admiral Wilson, now, he's head of intelligence, Joint Staff, Admiral. He made an inquiry into this based on a portfolio I had couriered to him, but he was denied access. And there's public documents now about this that leaked out. Look it up. And what happened is that he was also threatened personally and with demotion. So this was all happened kind of prior to my stand-up briefing at the Pentagon for him, which happened in 1997, over 25 years ago, 26. And it was a very disturbing event for him. For me, by then, I was battle-hardened. I realized what was going on. He was shocked that he had been threatened and denied access to these projects. I wasn't, because I said, well, you're in good company. The SecDef, Secretary of Defense has, the president, the director of the CIA. And by then I had met with key members in the Congress and Senate Intelligence Committee. They had all been pushed aside and denied access. So by then I had already accepted this new paradigm of there being, as Senator Inouye said, and I'm quoting, there's a secret government with its own Air Force, its own Navy, its own funding mechanism that's above the law and free from the law itself.
That's just insane. And this is 25 years ago,
Mm-hmm. Who knows what they're up to now?
Yeah, exactly. And they pushed him. He's talking about the most powerful people in our government. He even said the president. He said Congress people. He said head of intelligence committees. J2, right? Number 2 guy, Admiral Wilson. And yeah, they just threw him aside. Like, oh, sorry, you don't get to know any of this, and they threatened him. Insane.
What in the hell is the career path you have to be on to get into this secret? I mean, it just must be like the rich and powerful. I mean,
exactly, connected families. You got it. That's what it is. It's ancient money, right? Like thousands of years old, probably. Okay, fine, hundreds of years old, but whatever. It's old money, and these people are brought up and bred into this, right?
I mean, that's the only way it could work, unless because you have to be truly indoctrinated from birth to be brought up and take part in the secret government, like he's talking about. Think about the government we know about, and how many what percentage of it is truly like worthless. Yeah, I mean, so this is the secret group of people have to be from top to bottom completely tight-lipped and have a whole secret life. It's just a bizarre concept to me.
It is, because they're really living in a different world. Dolan said it perfectly, that they're a breakaway civilization, that they have one foot in here, 1 foot there, and in that other whatever secret government, they have a different view on humanity and our place in it, or our place in the universe, different physics, right? And they have different technologies, and it's like I think Corbell says, or maybe Greer, that they're basically protecting $quadrillion industries when it comes to oil alone, just the energy sector alone, when they're protecting that. So we can just see it all around us, right? When you keep this stuff secret from people, and you're that corrupt, and it's now all over the government. Everyone who's in the government is corrupt, not just in this subject now, in general. So it's completely corrupted our system, this lie and this secret. It's just wrong. It's a wrong thing to do. Well, and who are they?
Secrets beget secrets. I mean, it's not just one little white lie. It's everything, everything you do, where your money comes from, who's involved. I mean, it has to breed some level of paranoia. I mean, it's brought a lot of paranoia into our lives. I know that for sure.
Yeah, of course, because people are interested in this. We're humans. We got here because we question the mysteries of the universe. We tinker, we research it. It's what makes us who we are, right? So to keep this secret is just beyond wrong. There's no words for it.
Well, and then it looks like you have another video kind of queued up, and we could get into why this is so secret. Just to give a quick overview, the clip that you sent me, Corbell talking with Russell Brand.
Yeah.
He's basically just saying, the technology they're working, the UFO UAP, sure, I'll say technology. The UAP technology is so otherworldly and so reality bending. It would completely, ruin all facets of society if the truth came out.
Yeah, and he was also bringing up terrorism, that you can
Use
weaponize this.
Yeah.
He loves weaponizing everything, huh?
Mm-hmm.
I mean, that's what his show is called. You know what's really weird about this interview, though? At the end, Russell asks him about that safe behind him. He goes, "What's in that safe?" And he goes, "What safe?" And he's like, okay. And he changes the subject. But I thought it was really weird. He's like, "What safe?"
And then
it's toward the end.
And then Corbell threatened to jujitsu him, and the interview ended abruptly.
But let's see. He's passionate, this guy. Like you said, he's a net positive to this.
Yes.
But it's all about him, though. That's fine. That's his flaw. We all have flaws. At least he's out there getting this stuff out. But it's the fear angle, which I don't like, right? They have taken us over by now. I think. Maybe not. I'm not alien.
So, like I was saying, I mean, imagine, and I think what Corbell is getting at, I only watched the one clip he sent me, but he, basically just saying it's so weird, and it's something we've talked about on the show, and I think it's the truth.
Yeah.
Reality is so thin and malleable. And it's, it's probably the secret government that's really controlling everything, all of society behind the scenes. And if everyone knew that, it would just be, why do I need to go to work? Why am I paying for gas when you guys have all this technology that can get us from A to B?
Yeah, right. And,
why am I eating if I don't have to eat anymore? It's all, driven by just to keep the status quo.
It is, and to keep the people in power who were in power always in power, and always, they're human. You just put yourself in their shoes. I do, and I get it. You have a legacy, you have family history and power, and you want to hold on to that. And what better way than this? These things fall into your lap. These UFOs in the 1940s just fall into your lap intact.
This is something I learned. You kind of touched on it for a second there. I just want to make it more clear to our audience.
Yeah.
Every politician, no matter what little letter is next to their name, R, D, I, Q, LGBT, whatever.
Yeah.
There are only two things a politician wants, all of them across the board, every last one of them, from your local level to the president. They want money and power. That's number one. And number two is they want to keep that money and power. That's it. That is all a politician does. And if you look at any politician forever, you look at the decisions they make, everything they do, it'll follow those two things: money and power, and keeping money and power. That's it. That is always it.
So sad. It's like these desires that are hardwired into us keep us, just unaware of, this reality. Yeah. I mean, because there's lots of people saying that they tinkered with us and helped create us or whatever. Like, wouldn't you hard code that into an intelligent being, something like that, where it just keeps them right? And what's better than money? I mean, greed and power. I guess it's the same thing. Money and power. It's the same feeling of greed.
That's why I think it's grouped together, money and power, because it truly is the same thing. There's no such thing as having billions of dollars and having no power. Let's be honest.
That's what happens next, right? You get the money. The next is like, all right, what am I going to do now? Power, right?
Yeah, and it goes the other way. You cannot have tons of power and no money. It just doesn't work that way.
So true. All right, let's listen to this. I don't know if this is just random, but let's see if it's a good clip. It probably is.
How is this being used to control us? And it used to make sense when they wouldn't talk about it and they wouldn't admit it. I'm like, oh, well, it's definitely true. And now it's like it's flooding the media space. So I'm struggling to adapt, and I wonder how you're adapting.
Yeah, so look, make no doubt about it. There is spin on the UFO thing, but here you're seeing a collision right now. This is what I call acquisition anarchy. Right now, we are able to acquire these on what's called the ASA radar. So when pilots fly, they're seeing them, they're picking up on this collective radar. The phenomenon itself that include UFOs, it's become so prevalent. It is absolutely ubiquitous across the globe. So what happens is you have more people that are seeing these, that are reporting these, that have evidence, that have video. That's why I've been able to obtain and release a bunch of pilot filmed video in different systems like FLIR, forward-looking infrared, optics, IR. So we have corroborative visual evidence. So what's happening is the powers that be, they're like, oh shit, all of a sudden we're seeing these and we need to deal with it. How do we utilize that information to our benefit? So that's what you're seeing in the media. However, independent journalism, journalists like myself and my mentor, George Knapp, we are the kind of gatekeepers of this information because people...
Did he just call himself a gatekeeper?
Well, as you touched on, Corbell has a very interesting opinion on his role in all of this. And it's something that you and I will relentlessly make fun of him for.
Oh, man.
He, if anyone has seen his documentaries, my favorite is Hunt for the Skinwalker.
Me too.
It's a very, very good documentary.
Yeah,
he does insert himself as a main character in all of his documentaries. And it's kind of a bummer because, in my opinion, a good documentary does not feature the director.
Yeah, exactly. The information's enough. Right.
That's my opinion. Some other people may differ. Again, Corbell is a net positive. He's bringing a lot of good stuff to light.
He is, and he said some good stuff there. He said, see, they're trying to hijack the narrative. He said it, without saying it. So, actually, that's cool that he said that because I have a doubt that he's a spook, that he's part of that, So it is. I never heard him say that the narrative is being hijacked by the powers that be. Let's continue just a little bit. Yeah,
he does. He definitely looks like. Well, I don't like judging people on appearances, but when you said that, popped into my head of him being a spook. He does look like what a 60-year-old CIA agent analyst would be like. Okay, totally. What's cool and hip in the UFO community?
Right.
And they dress him and make him look this way.
Yeah, and he gets on national TV. Like he came out of nowhere. That's the red flag for me. Always. It means your support, especially in the media. Like that means you got contacts, dude. Then who's contacting the media? Anyway, let's continue just for a little bit. This was all in all a good interview.
Yes, it was.
I didn't know Russell was really into this. So he said that he mentioned things that are UFO folklore. So Russell Brand mentioned that British guy that hacked into the NASA computers.
Oh my God, I'm blanking on his name.
Yeah, McGinnis. No,
McKinnon.
McKinnon, nice. Yeah, McKinnon. So he talked about that. Richard Doty brought him up also. I sent you that interview. Anyway, let's listen quickly.
Yep,
just a little bit more.
See it be lost when they send it up through command. So they're reaching out to us, whistleblowers. And I will also say that there are people on the inside. I know them. They're trying to do the right thing. They're trying to open up what has been covered up. This is not science fiction. This is science fact. This is absolutely 100% true. So what they're doing is they're putting into place Whistleblower Protection Act. So someone like Bob Lazar, he can now go in front of Congress, the Senate Intelligence Committee. He can tell them what he knows about secret programs, and then he'll be protected because they have these reprisal kind of defenses that they built into this in the National Defense Authorization Act of 2023. Biden signed it. It's pretty crazy. So on one hand, you have people saying, oh shit, we can't control this. We need to get ahead of it. On the other hand, you have journalists like me and George, and people leak to us, but we obtain and release footage that is contained within classified briefings, but inherently unclassified. So they're stuck between, a rock and a UFO. They don't know what to do. But I do believe in humanity and in individuals doing the right thing. So this cloak of secrecy, this cone of silence is now being lifted to some degree, but we got to watch them. We got to watch them because they're going to spin it. They're going to change it. They're going to lock it back up. And as soon as we get close to the goodies, which is the actual craft of unknown origin, not from planet Earth, as the New York Times reported correctly, which is odd that they reported anything correctly. But there we go. As soon as we get close to that, they're going to try to lock it back down. And I've already seen it. Companies like Lockheed, Boeing, Raytheon, They're all looking how to obscure this information so they don't get busted in the crime of covering it up in the first place.
Nuts, man. Nuts. All good stuff.
Yeah,
all good stuff.
I was gonna say, as much as we rag on Corbell, that is everything he said there.
Yeah,
I really liked. I think he's dead on.
Yeah.
Agreed. Yeah, I mean, it's just it is really scary, and the only thing I'll say about the whistleblower stuff, our government has proven time and time again they don't give two shits about whistleblowers. You can they can pass whatever laws and everything like that. If you're a whistleblower, you're putting your life in danger, no matter what laws are in place that supposedly are there to protect you.
Yeah,
so
even
I can understand why people wouldn't come forward even with whistleblower stuff in place.
Yeah, because it never worked, right? They always get reprimanded, they always get punished, and that's why a lot of them run away.
It's not just that. Who was that journalist? And I was going to say it was under Obama's first term. I believe it was 2009. They crashed his car. He was like, they said his car.
Yeah,
I think
he got something on a general. It was in LA too. His car got taken over and it blew up too when it crashed.
Yeah.
Journalist crash.
That's probably
Los Angeles.
But yeah, he had dirt on. It wasn't like he blackmailed somebody. He was just doing his job as a journalist.
Michael Hastings.
That's right, Hastings. Yeah, he his people, witnesses were saying his car was acting all weird. He couldn't, like he was just going faster and faster and faster, and he crashed and the car blew up. And I think there was an investigation into the official story was his car had some sort of malfunction.
It got hacked, obviously.
Right, but that's the actual true story.
Yeah,
I'm just saying that's what the story was following his
malfunction. Right? Yeah, Mercedes. That's right. It was a Mercedes, and they said it malfunction. Mercedes said, "Sorry, our cars don't malfunction. We want to investigate that." They didn't let them investigate the car.
Right. So that's that little side note is just goes to show that our government will kill people to hide their secrets.
Yeah, I mean, even these NSA whistleblowers, William Binney, I think his name is. So he tried to go that route, and they still raided his house while he was in the shower naked, with guns. They came into the shower with guns. He goes, "What are you guys doing?"
Yeah,
you know what I mean? Because he was going to whistleblow with the NSA spying on U.S. citizens.
Even Gary Webb. I believe he was the one that he exposed. How was it? The government was releasing crack to cities in the United States. Was that him? Anyway, he was harassed, and he also died of "quote unquote" suicide in very suspicious manners.
Speaking about suicide,
I was just. I don't know if you're done with the Corbell stuff. We can move on.
We're done with Corbell.
Okay, yeah, there was a. Another politically, how do I put this?
Political.
There was another person who was involved in politics that had close ties to a certain family that's very involved in politics and has been involved in politics for a long time. That was found dead, quote unquote, by suicide. Shotgun blast to the chest. His neck tied around a cord that was tied to a tree, as in he had hung himself. First reports saying there was no weapon found, and yet his death was ruled as a suicide.
Oh, what a surprise, huh? I mean,
shock. And
really
I mentioned a political family earlier. It was this death was found in their home state.
Oh, so of course. All right. So now,
how interesting that these coincidences keep piling up.
Here, let me grab it. Actually.
It is absolutely fascinating to me that they see this guy cord around his neck, tied to a tree in noose fashion, gun hole in his chest, can't find a weapon, and someone steps on the scene and goes, "Yep, that's a suicide," and they expect us to buy it.
Well, yeah, because we buy everything. Death of shot Clinton aide with Epstein ties found tied to tree ruled suicide. So he tied it. Like, who writes these? Who writes these titles? I mean, I know
it's I'm honestly, I'm starting to believe it truly is AI generated at this point.
I mean, tied to a tree ruled suicide. So, okay, I'm going to tie myself to a tree and then I'm going to shoot myself, and just so everyone can find me.
And then I'll tie the gun to a helium balloon, So it floats off. It's not anywhere near me. Really screw with people.
So another, I mean, this family is known. I think no other family in history, in human history, has as many deaths surrounding them than they do. Mark Middleton, 59, who served in the Clinton White House in the 1990s, was found dead on Heifer Ranch in Perryville, Arkansas.
Arkansas.
Sorry, Arkansas.
No, I'm kidding.
I know. Oh man, that sucks. And of course, he's tied to Epstein, and he probably was going to spill the beans or something. Oh, they're just tying up knots,
just cleaning house. Yeah.
It's complete mafia. These people. There's a picture with Epstein and Ghislaine.
Yeah, it's just weird that as much flack as I'll just say it, the Clintons get. Everyone gets especially people on the left get really upset when you say, oh, they have nothing to do with all these people committing suicide, and then it just keeps happening. It brings up a lot of questions.
It does bring up a lot of questions. Do you want? Oh, I sent you. Maybe we shouldn't listen to it this long, but I sent you Richard Doty, and he did a presentation in the UK about the secret space program and just a history of ufology and
if you could do just a couple minutes summary, I think that would be best, because it is an interview on Rogan, so it is a couple hours long.
Oh wait, the Rogan one is different.
Oh, I'm sorry, I was looking at what you had on the screen.
I probably should the wrong one, I think. Oh yes, I mean it was good. The problem with Weinstein is that he's now into it, right? He was saying before he thought it was just a smokescreen for the government that was doing secret projects, but that now that he thinks that it's not, that there's something to it.
And this is going to be, I feel like, a very common theme, and has been on our podcast. It's just layers and layers and layers and layers of information mixed in with disinformation, mixed in with lies, mixed in with distractions, mixed in with truths. You don't know the truth until you get down to the very, very bottom of it. I mean, obviously, Adam and I, we enjoy certain sources and we go through and listen to stuff, but it's hard to tell. It's hard to accept anything as fact, fact. Because you never know, who's being paid to tell lies, who has been disinformed without them knowing they're being misinformed. It's just hard to, because there is an argument to be made. Corbell is talking about how people within the government have sent him and George Knapp clips of UFOs and stuff, and you don't even know. Maybe the people who are sending them clips are getting told by the CIA to send those clips. I mean, we can't possibly know.
No, we cannot know. And that's what's so sad about it, is it's like they purposely make everyone confused. They purposely put in distractors. They purposely just confuse the entire thing. Yeah.
That's truly the whole point. Just keep us completely confused.
So Weinstein was on there. I can't get it up for some reason, but when Weinstein, it's a pretty long interview. The thing I'm trying to remember what annoyed me about it is because he's so new to it, he wasn't looking at the history of it. But specifically what it was, I can't really remember. Maybe the physics of it. Even though he's a physicist, he's still trying to apply what we know and what humans know to what aliens know. And Richard Doty talks about this. He says that we were doing that in the 40s and 50s, that we had our scientists were looking at this alien technology. It's from Roswell. Was looking at that and they were trying to apply it to what we had. He said that was wrong. Those programs went nowhere. He said only when they tried to understand the aliens or the extraterrestrial physics or math is when we finally got somewhere. And he says we cracked gravity in the 50s, and we keep hearing that now. Mm-hmm. So that presentation was amazing that he did.
Yeah, something to keep in mind. We as humans, I think, I'm a big science fiction reader. I love and movies and TV shows and yada yada yada. But we as humans have a tough time imagining true aliens, like aliens outside of our understanding, because if you watch any of these movies or read any of these books, the aliens always have human desires. They want to use us as batteries. They need energy. They need food. Stuff like that. But truly, alien life forms would have such a different understanding of what life, and they would have a completely different list of physiological needs even. And so trying to understand crashed UFO aircraft through the eyes through a human lens, it doesn't make any sense, and you wouldn't get anywhere. And it's a shame that even we're seeing it even on the true scientific field, that we as humans struggle with that as well.
Exactly.
Do everything through a human lens instead of an objective.
Right, a clean slate, like really trying to understand them, not trying to impose our perspective on something that's from far away. Now, the problem with Doty, there are issues with him. All right, so I don't know if you know, he's an ex-Air Force Special Operations, whatever that was. He was read into this. He was responsible for counterintelligence. So this is the issue with him. When he was at his job, right now he's retired, but when he was at his job, I don't know if you know Benowitz. I don't know his first name, but he ended up committing suicide. He was a scientist that was trying to warn the NSA and the Air Force that aliens are spying on their facilities. And he actually bought property that was near, I forget which space now, it might have been Nellis, just to watch what's going on there. And he told them that he's in communication with aliens. Now, the problem is they gaslit him. So Richard Doty and someone else went to his house to visit him, and he tells his story, and he says, we were in the house and there were like orbs like above him, like these small orbs. They're like, whoa, but they wouldn't say anything to him. But he ended up gaslighting him so much that he ended up committing suicide, this Benowitz guy. So a lot of people do not trust Richard Doty, that they think he's still doing an op. He's trying to redeem himself now as retired, and he's doing these presentations about, here we go, secret space program history. This is a really good presentation. We'll put it into the show notes, but he talks about how we brought over the Germans, which we know about, right?
That's Operation Paperclip. That's not conspiracy theory. That's fact.
Right. Yes, that is fact. Their techno. We went over there, and they had the V3 rocket, right, which we used to go to the moon.
Just to sum it up, sorry, real quick. What Adam was talking about, what I said, Operation Paperclip. Then of World War II, a lot of the Nazis were put on trial and yada, yada, yada. Mm-hmm. A big chunk of them were split between Russia and the United States. Those of you who don't know, our NASA space program was basically built off the back of all the stuff the Nazis accomplished in World War II.
Yeah, and Apollo.
Yeah, apparently the Apollo program technically should have had a swastika on the side. I think they probably scraped that off at the last minute.
Here's talking about, I think, Roswell. But yeah, here it is, the Roswell incident. So here, I'll just press play a little bit. It's crazy hearing from him because he was read into all this. He lived this every day. And he does say some new information in here.
Recovery film, briefed on the fact that it happened. What a lot of people don't realize is there was a second craft that crashed during that same time period. But that craft crashed in western New Mexico near Pelona Peak, a very remote area of New Mexico. In 1949 is when that craft was found.
2 years.
Found by a rancher taking his cattle up to a new grazing place and found it. Now, this is really remote in New Mexico. It took him 10 days to be able to report this to the local sheriff, and eventually the local sheriff, over a period of 3 weeks, contacted the Army. They came down and recovered it. Well, we already had the 47 craft. 1949, we found this other craft, identical same craft, absolutely identical same craft, same ETs aboard, but they were all obviously dead and their bodies were decayed over a period of time. So now we got two crafts. This is in the late 40s, we have two crafts. The first craft crashed, Corona, we have a live ET. We found a live ET. 5 dead bodies, 1 live one. They named him Eba. The intelligence community figured this name out because they considered it an extraterrestrial biological entity. So they named it Eba. He lived in captivity at Los Alamos for 5 years. He died in 1952. But during that time period, he told us about his technology. But you got to understand, they're thousands of years more advanced in technology than we are. So we couldn't understand everything that alien was telling us. Although he was showing us things, he was showing us items out of his craft, which we're going to talk about. And he tried to provide us with some of their science. The mistakes we were making back in those days, as far as technologies and understanding alien technologies, we were trying to compare our technology, our science, our math with an extraterrestrial technology or science. Well, they're thousands of years more advanced. They have different math systems. Now, generally speaking, and I used to teach math, generally speaking, math, algebra, trigonometry, all those wonderful courses you just love to take, or calculus, we should be the same. Well, the solutions could be the same, but the application of the problem and the application of solving that solution could be different.
So yeah, there it is, exactly. And that's why it took so long until the 50s or mid 50s or late 50s, he said, that we finally figured it out. Now, he died in 52, this alien. What do you think about that?
Yeah, I don't know. I'm torn. Again, it's one of those things I want to believe, but it's just a guy on a podium speaking, no pictures, no proof.
They know his background though, but again,
who worked, but worked for the government.
Okay,
yeah, and
exactly.
I inherently don't trust anyone who works for the government.
Yeah. So that's his issue, exactly. And he got someone to kill himself because but that what that guy was doing, Benowitz, he was really communicating with the aliens. They just didn't want him to believe that. And they kept telling him, no, that's us. They kept telling him that what you're seeing, what you're dealing with, that's us. So it drove the guy nuts, So, and Richard did apologize for it. He said sorry. He said, anyway, there are issues with Doty, and he does say crazy things. I mean that's this presentation is nuts, but we'll include it in the show notes. Just so
and I want to go back and listen to that again. It is very interesting.
Yeah, and he wants to bring it out, so that's how he's trying to redeem himself. Lots of people in the community do not trust the guy, and of course you can understand why. So yeah, now politically, same shit's going on. Ukraine.
Actually, I wanted to real quick. I don't think I sent this to you. So we have talked about the Ohio train derailment last couple of weeks. I mean, it was the biggest thing in the news going on.
Yeah.
But now we have a lot of citizens of East Palestine, who are reporting illnesses and a lot of strange, I don't want to say disease, that has the wrong connotation, but sickness due to the train derailment. And in the meantime, the government keeps coming out saying, "Oh, everything's fine. The water's clean. There's no real pollution." I keep seeing Erin Brockovich. Her name pops up here and there. She's spoken on it, and hopefully everyone knows who Erin Brockovich is.
There was a movie, right? With what's her name?
Basically, she was a female lawyer, sued a company on behalf of a small town because there were, I believe it was their water had been poisoned by this plant that this company had in their town.
Yeah,
and she's come out and because there are a lot of similarities between that case and this one.
Yeah,
it's sad. Unfortunately, we're not going to see any real resolution there. I mean, do you remember clear back? God, it's probably been a decade. Like Flint, Michigan, they had that huge thing about their water and how tainted it was, and that is not even fixed yet.
Nope, it's still not fixed. It's still
going
fixed.
on.
Yeah, it's
really
sad.
Once again, where do our tax dollars go? We have
Ukraine.
serious infrastructure problems in this country, and none of it gets addressed.
It's really depressing, man. But and I can't believe we have someone just going around the president and just saying our support will never waver for Ukraine, and we've given them $115 billion till today. Looks like it's going to go on another year, which means another $100 billion. We're sending airplanes. tanks. It's just really dangerous, and it's not a joke. This is a nuclear power. I think today I heard that Putin was making fun of Biden, saying that you guys will never win, and now he stopped. He pulled Russia out of the treaty, the non-proliferation treaty, nuclear, and that's scary, dude. It's not a joke. I mean, if we do back them into a corner, they're not going to just give up. It's going to get bad, really bad.
And I think either the news media hasn't really covered this well enough, or people just don't understand. One of Russia's biggest allies right now is China, and obviously, you know, we have our issues with China, but I mean, these are two of the largest superpowers on the planet, and everyone's kind of rattling their sabers at each other. And yes, it's starting to get dangerous. And the U.S., it seems to me, is trying to do this thing where we say, "Oh, we're not at war," you know, we're not instigating conflict because we're on the other side of the planet, and you know, we're not deploying troops, but at the same time, yeah, we're sending them military gear and we're sending them money and support. You know, we're just as involved as you know, we're just short of dropping troops at the border.
Yeah, exactly. There's nothing left. There's nothing left because once those the excuse is also now that we're retiring the F-18s, and they're really thinking of sending them all of our F-18s. I mean,
fuck,
man, it's so scary. That is not a joke. It's not a joke.
Yeah, I know. And again, listener, everything that you see and hear in the media and hear too a little bit, it's designed to keep you scared and not able to live your life. You're not going to hear about the good deed that your neighbor did. You're not going to hear about the good teachers helping your kids in every way that they can. You're not going to hear about your fellow man looking after, you know, your neighbor's dog or something. My point is the media is designed to keep you hating other people, and it's designed to keep you scared. And yes, but don't get me wrong, there are terrible, awful things that are happening in the world right now, but it's not everything. There is a lot of good.
There is. We were taking around with the new AI image tools also last week. That was a lot of fun. I was playing around with Gabs from Gab Social and their AI. I mean, it came out with some really cool pictures. With some, it's not perfect. There's a lot of things where it got wrong. I had to keep telling it to re-roll, but then it eventually got it right. And then I think you were doing one that you downloaded an app.
Yeah, I downloaded about 5 or 6 of the top AI generating apps just because I was like, oh, that's kind of fun. It's super easy. I can feel like an artist.
Yeah.
Anyway, but yeah, you know, just remember there's a lot of good out there.
There is. There also the Mail covered something. 2 Air Force vets have testified here. Let's didn't I send that one to you, or maybe you sent that to me? I remember looking at that. Oh, you know what? Actually, sorry, I'll bring it up. I'll bring it up later. You go ahead and talk about the one you want to talk about. All right, so this is from the Daily Mail. 2 Air Force vets have testified to Pentagon's UFO office about seeing mysterious objects turn off 10 nuclear warheads and blast test missiles out of the sky at U.S. bases. So that one was 5 days ago. The Pentagon's UFO office is investigating historic reports of mysterious objects interfering with key nuclear missile silos. Who did I listen to that said some of those were this breakaway group testing our nuclear sites? I forget who it was. Not all of them, but a lot of them. That they weren't really alien. But this is over the Malmstrom Air Force Base in Montana in 1967, where they shut down 10 warheads.
Yeah, once again, this UAP technology is so far advanced beyond our own.
Yeah, completely. And I think that's where they're saying, listen, you know, you guys can have these, but we're letting you know that we can turn these off. And what if, when this thing goes, if Russia and Ukraine think it's, you know, just to that level, what if that all these missiles are just stopped and, you know, while
I can't see that inherently being a bad thing.
No. It's not. That's right. That's what you asked. You're like, is that a bad thing that they turned off 10% of those missiles? Yeah, not really. All right.
Ladies and gentlemen, the government is on our tail once again, crashing Adam's computer when we get a little bit too close to the truth.
I don't even know what I was presenting there. It just froze, and then blue screen of death.
You were on the Daily Mail article that you were showing me.
Yes, the Air Force. That's right. Yeah. That they testified these things happened. All right.
I sent you this. I sent you a copy of a tweet from NATO.
Yes.
A couple days ago, the worst tweet imaginable. I'm not even going to read it. Hilarious. It's so bad, but it's just this new Disney Marvelification, pussification of modern society, where NATO's presenting themselves as the Harry Potter of the story. That's part of the tweet. It's just really dumb, but it gave me hope to see the replies back to that tweet. Everyone just dragging them really, really hard. I thought that was hilarious. Did your computer crash?
Yeah, they really went after the. Yeah, I'm here, right? Yeah.
Yes, you're here.
So I'm gonna. All right, so That's right. It crashed before Joe Murgia. So he's well known in the industry. He's kind of a lefty. So I used to fight with him when I used to have other accounts, especially when COVID happened. He believed it all, But whatever. Everyone has flaws, but he's good because the good thing what he does listen and consume to consumes a lot of interviews and articles, and then he transcribes them, which is cool. See transcript. This is Eric Davis, and he's the one who leaked the Wilson memo. Davis has been involved in this for a very long time with crash retrievals too, and he has interviews about it. Anyway, it's a great quote. He says, "Yeah, I think there's a lot of evidence that the government has known, but the problem is it's so outside the realm of human comprehension that they can't deal with it on a legislative basis. They can't deal with it on a military operational basis. They can't deal with it on the basis of a presidential policy. So they just ignore it and just sweep it under the rug and let a finite group of scientists and engineers and investigators work together to either get funded to investigate and evaluate it, or they don't get funding for long periods of time and nothing gets done. They just hold on to the information and it just collects cobwebs in the classified storage warehouses."
Yeah, I mean, this is what we talked about earlier in the show. I mean, just imagine if everything you knew about the world, about your role in the world, about humans in general was just wrong. It
completely.
Was yeah.
We're stuck in the 50s, basically.
and wrong in ways that you can't even fathom. It's a terrifying thought.
Could you imagine being these extraterrestrials or others and just looking at civilization? Would you feel sorry for the humans that don't know, that are being kept in the dark about this? They're treated like children, which it is, being treated like children with this issue. Like,
but see, once again, you're putting a human lens on it.
Oh yeah.
I think truthfully, it'd be more akin to when we study colonies of ants, let's say.
Yeah.
You don't really feel bad for them. You just know the queen ant makes all the decisions.
True.
Certain ants have different roles in the little ant society.
Good point.
Yeah, that's kind of how I see it. I mean, I have to, because I would like to imagine if the aliens had some sort of human motivation, they felt bad for us, they would do everything that they could to help people out. But I mean, once again, maybe they are. Maybe that's what abductions are. Maybe that's what all these scenarios are.
I think they're trying to understand this too. I think they're just as shocked when they meet us as we are of them, or they had the same feeling, like, "Whoa, what is this being here?" What do you think of Chris Bledsoe?
I don't know a single thing.
Really? Okay, you should just take time. And the thing is, he's involved with the Defense Intelligence Agency. So that's why I kind of don't trust exactly what he's saying. He also, there was one interview he did with Richard Dolan where he brought in politics into it, where I remember Trump gave Jerusalem over to Israel, that thing. And he was saying that his experience was, because he says he meets angels, not really aliens, but that was supposed to happen. And that's part of the plan. So that's when I started getting off of him, like, here we go. Now he's bringing it to politics, right? But he still says interesting stuff here. This is not very long. It's about 3 minutes. Let's listen to it.
The government wants to tell us the truth. They want to, but they don't know how. Government's a big thing, and it takes a lot of people coming together to agree on anything. And a lot of them don't want to tell it, but a lot do. But for the most part, it's so complex. It's conscience-based. They know this. So how do you describe this? How do you tell it? If you read my book, I think you'll learn something that the government wants to tell us, but just don't know how. And, I've worked with them for 15 years. This is something I've never talked about. I always hit it way back when I started with them in 2008. It was top secret then. There wasn't no talking about UFOs at all. And 2016, they got a little bit looser on it, but I still never talked about what I was doing or who I was working with. And I wanted to so bad because people would ridicule me. And I just wanted to say, if you only knew I'm working on stem cell research with NASA, I wanted to say that. The government wants to tell.
But wait, why would you work on stem cell research? Why? I mean, I don't understand with him. Maybe because he is an experiencer, right? And he almost has it daily or something. This guy, Chris Bledsoe, and the Defense Intelligence Office found out about this and started visiting him on a regular basis. So maybe that's why he doesn't even say why. So maybe they're trying to see what is so different about him. That's all I can think about. I don't understand why he'd be doing stem cell research with NASA. What do you think?
I don't even know what to think. Let's listen to the rest of the clip.
Okay. Hopefully I got back to the right place.
The government folks were the only ones that made sense to me. The public ostracized the whole family and treated us bad. And of course, at that time, the UFO world was into the nuts and bolts, and I'm claiming spiritual. And they were like, that's too much for us. I never wavered in all these years and the government knew. They knew back then. They know it's real. And what's happening now, I think that in 2020, during the COVID pandemic, the government told it. They told everybody, the world, that it's real. It's really real. They told it right during the pandemic. And so many people didn't pay attention to it. They were focused on COVID. But now NORAD started becoming a little bit more public about what they're seeing. And I can tell you, Jimmy, the balloons don't explain it all. They're seeing stuff all around the world. And I think if I ran the government, like Mr. Biden, I would start telling a little bit at the time, trying to condition the public before some whistleblower come along and scared the whole world, right? Mm-hmm. I think they were worried about me doing that. So
yeah, so that was that.
Yeah, I mean that's kind of my take on the whole UAP phenomenon. It's too weird that can't be explained by modern science.
Yeah,
it's a spiritual thing, as much, if not more, than it is a scientific thing.
So what's wrong if it's spiritual? What's wrong with it? Why is that so weird?
No, there's nothing wrong with it being spiritual.
I'm asking like in general, like why would the government
make that so weird? Because it can't be explained, and as we've seen from our government, they rarely ever go, well, we don't know. I don't know what this is. I don't know how to explain it. We can't, give you any information on it. Well, when they do say they can't give us any information, they just mean that they're hiding the secret. They're hiding the secret. But I just mean, truly, if they have something in their hands that they can't even begin to describe or understand, I think that's the most likely scenario. That's why they're so tight-lipped about it, and it's what we've been talking about this whole episode with this. Why there's a whole secret government that's dealing with this stuff.
Yeah,
because again, and I keep saying it. Imagine if your whole world is turned upside down, black is white, up is down. Everything is fake. Everything is wrong. It would just completely. It would be the end of every apocalyptic movie. It would throw everything into chaos.
I mean, maybe it's just they want to keep us in this old paradigm, and there's happy. They don't want to rock the boat. They don't.
That's all. Sad. That's all I think it is. I think it's just you keep people working towards a common goal. You want a house, you want a wife and kids, you want that picket fence, you want a good job, because it's easy to manage, and it keeps people. It's not even about really controlling people. It's just to keep people happy a little bit,
right?
Just keep people sane.
But this lack of, I mean, even people I know, I get so upset when they don't see like magic in the universe, right?
Because they don't. But this is exactly what I'm talking about. They don't want to because, let's just say hypothetically, imagine. Let's just say again, this is completely hypothetical. What if every single person on this planet inherently had the ability to conjure whatever they wanted to with their mind? And I mean, imagine that, and then that became public knowledge. The entire world would be thrown into chaos, right? Absolute chaos. There would be no point in going to your job. There would be no point in keeping a family, any of that stuff.
But why wouldn't there, right? I mean, I guess you'd have to find other reasons than just making money and buying a house and saving for retirement. I guess, because I'd have to become spiritual again, which I think which we lost. I mean, in the past, like when we see these huge buildings and even like the pyramids and stuff, and all over the world, all structures, all ancient structures, spirituality is what drove everyone to help and build these monuments. It wasn't financial. At least I don't think it was. It wasn't a system like this, So it's a more pure motivation, if that makes sense.
My argument, I'm not sure if it's for or against that, but I think I don't think there's anything wrong with spirituality, but I think religion largely. I mean, you talked about. I think religion has largely been used to control people in the same way society is used to control people today. I mean, you talked about something like building the pyramids out of a spiritual thing, but that still was a way to control people. Because think about it, you have to have X amount of people doing this thing to create a final product. It's not that much different than what we're doing today. It's just through a different lens.
Yeah, good point.
Yeah,
I mean, and speaking about the conscious thing, I don't know if I told you, I started with my daughter this last week. Started the remote viewing.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, so we did a course. We finished the first DVD, and dude, it's so impressive. It really is. Like it's unbelievable how accurate it is. And we're practicing more and more, so we're getting better and better. But there was one point where she got one, the second target, on the DVD, she got it right, spot on. She hasn't done that after, but it was just crazy to watch. And then I agreed with her too, because I'm like, wait a minute, yes, that's exactly what it is. Because I'll tell you what it is. It was a roller coaster, and what I saw whirlwinds, right, which is doing loop to loops and stuff.
Right.
But then the bottom part felt like it was seat belts and rubbery. I'm like, yes, it is. And then we went through it, and it was, lo and behold, it was the roller coaster. It's just crazy stuff. What your subconscious can do. It's nuts. That's
very cool. I do think. I think it's good that you're starting your daughter on something like that. It's easier. It's easier to we as adults, we have lived our lives, and we've experienced a lot more than say like someone like your daughter has, right?
Yeah.
And so we're pretty set in our ways, and you really have to. When I say we, I just mean adults in general.
Yeah, in general, yeah.
We're set in our ways, and so it's hard to open your mind up to the possibilities that you can do strange things with your mind. But to kids, your imagination can run wild, and there's no real limit to what you can do with your mind. So it's probably best to start doing that thing at a young age.
Well, what brought it up is she has this obsession, which I don't know where it came from, for telekinesis, like moving stuff with her mind.
Yeah.
I'm like,
she's a Star Wars kid.
Yeah, exactly. So I was like, there is something called remote viewing. It's pretty close to it. We can learn it together. Because I had the DVD. I never did it by myself. Mm-hmm. So I started with her, and we'll see where it takes us. It'll be fun.
Nice. Well, that's cool, man. I think that's a really good note to wrap it on.
Yeah.
Episode.
Exactly. And I think this was a good stream. There was a lot to talk about. We do have to fix. I'll even fix the video because there was like 2 or 3 minutes.
Yeah,
they dropped off.
Be easy to edit because it'd be easy to fix.
Yeah, well, we are getting our following is slowly but surely growing. We do have more and more fans that are interacting with us on Twitter. I see that the streams. The show is being downloaded and started and streamed, and people are following us. So on Spotify, so it is growing. So if you guys are regulars, yeah.
If I was a first-time listener and I wanted to check us out on Twitter, where would I go?
Well, you go on Twitter, and our handle is UAP the podcast. So that's where you'll find us. And Topher, you have your own. Do you know what your handle is?
I've got it. I nailed it down after 13 episode 12 because I got it last week. It's Topher it all. That's TOPPHER 1P. Sorry, Topher it all.
So yeah, we're always on there. Topher's always on there. Interact with us. Throw us stuff. We might be interviewing someone next week. That's part of the family. She's very knowledgeable in this. She's shy, but I told her, you don't have to show your face or anything like that. But she's very knowledgeable about this.
We're gonna grill her relentlessly so she never comes back on the show. You can make sure I told you that.
Okay, so it'll be fun. We'll just see, understand why she's so interested in this, why she's so obsessed, and does she have any experiences in it? Anyway, so that'll be the first interview, and fans, listeners, if you guys want to come on, shoot us a message on Twitter. We'll evaluate the opportunity, and then hopefully have some of you on to discuss this insane subject that's just that I'm so obsessed with, and I know Topher is also.
Yeah, absolutely. We're so obsessed we started a flipping podcast
just to talk about it. Not really to even gain following or anything, right? Just to get it out.
I know. We're doing this. Truthfully, we're doing this for ourselves.
Absolutely,
because we would go insane, and I think we have actually driven several people insane in our personal lives because this is all the stuff we talk about.
Exactly. Like, guys, just start a podcast.
Yeah. Anyway, also, feel free to give us some feedback. We're on Spotify right now, but Adam, I think you said you were to try posting stuff on
Rumble. So I'm going to start putting the videos on Rumble.
Okay.
Yeah, I'm going to put last week's video up today, and then this one I'm going to have to edit it because of what happened. So
that's fine. Well, we're still a little bit early. Ran into some technical difficulties there. If you're listening to this, you're probably not. Hopefully, you're not going to notice. Because I'm doing such a great job editing.
Awesome.
Yeah. Oh, I wanted to tell you, I watched several movies this weekend. It was horror movie weekend.
Okay.
The John Carpenter Apocalypse trilogy. I know you'll like that. That's The Thing,
the trilogy,
The Prince of Darkness, and In the Mouth of Madness. They're 3 horror movies by John Carpenter in the 80s.
Okay.
Very, very good. Each one, it's called the Apocalypse trilogy. They're not like a series of movies. It's just 3 movies that kind of have similar themes.
Okay.
Prince of Darkness is my favorite. Oh, and then I watched Dark City. Have you seen that?
Yeah, I love that movie.
Dark City
isn't Dark City the one they're in a spaceship, right? At the end?
Yeah.
Well, just ruin it for everyone.
Yeah. A little bit of it's not even because I think that happens about halfway through the movie when you figure that out. But Dark City is really good. And then last night I started watching Knowing with Nick Cage.
And
it's really good.
Really?
I think you and I actually might like that.
I was just going to mention, is it kid friendly?
It might. I don't know how she does. I don't know how your daughter does with scary movies. But
it's not. Is Knowing
it's
scary?
not. It's not super scary. It's a little creepy.
Okay.
There's no like jump scare weird things. There's just some creepy stuff that happens.
I'll check it out.
I know when that movie first came out, I got dragged pretty hard. It's because it's Nick Cage, but Nick Cage stays within himself. He's not going nutso on screen.
Okay.
But it is a pretty out there story. I think if it came out like now, honestly, I think it would have been a lot more well received because it's very spiritual in a sense.
So it's ahead of its time.
Yeah, a little bit. Yeah, I think so.
All right, yeah, I'll check it out. I always wanted to. Like you said, everyone made fun of it. I was like, oh, okay, maybe I shouldn't.
Yeah, no, I think it aged really well, oddly enough. Anyway, we didn't talk about movies this week, and I've been consistently bringing them up the last couple episodes. I figure I might as well wrap it up.
Yeah, why not?
Movie recommendation.
Exactly. Cool.
All right, thank you all so much for listening to the Uncovering Anomalies podcast. It's so good to have you here with us. Send us your stories, send us your experiences, send us your feedback. Just send us stuff.
Something, yes, and we'll definitely talk next week. We are very consistent.
Yes, we are, and we edit and upload these typically the same day or within 24 hours of recording, so everything is pretty topical.
Exactly.
We're trying to stay on top of it all.
Nice. All right, until next week.
All right, next week. See you guys.